So what if this whole chunk of land is connected to our tectonic plate? That would tell us that what happened yesterday in Nevada was not an anomaly. No, what if it was a precursor movement along the leading edge of the plate boundary fault from Los Angeles all the way up to San Francisco?
Are you saying you think the whole San Andreas fault might go off?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Who should we call?
Everybody.
Well, you got to call the Rock, beat up the earthquake.
The only one to call.
Rock bottom. Do you think the earthquake started because it was a rock bottom and it was so hard?
He rock bottomed all the way up the coast of California. Welcome back to the Last Row Podcast. This is episode 35. My name is Drew, and as always, I am joined by my friend and co-host, Mr. Badway.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, Badway?
Not much. Do well.
Feeling better this week?
Yeah, well, I always feel good,
After that plot fiction game last week, I think it cheered you up.
Sometimes you got to be grumpy.
Romantic corn eating, We had a romantic corn night.
You'd never forget that night.
Anyway, this is the Last Row Podcast. If you're looking for us on the interwebs, thelastrowpodcast.com, on Twitter at The Last Row Pod, Facebook.com/The Last Row Pod. We have a Google Plus page. We are also out on Google Play Music. If you haven't subscribed already, head on out, subscribe there. And if you haven't had the chance, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you to everybody that's done so already.
So, judging by the ominous opening and the title on your phone or tablet or laptop or desktop computer, San Andreas is the movie this week, 2014, directed by Brad Peyton Manning. IMDb 6.1%. 43%. Metacritic 6.1. Average.
I thought I wrote it wrong there for a second.
Whatever. A seemingly ideal day turns disastrous when California's notorious San Andreas fault triggers a devastating magnitude 9 earthquake, the largest in recorded history. As Earth cracks open and buildings start to crumble, Ray Gaines, an LAFD search and rescue helicopter pilot, must navigate the destruction from Los Angeles to San Francisco to bring his estranged wife and their only daughter to safety.
Not really an only daughter, right?
Well, let's not get dark so quick.
Current daughter.
Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Alexandra Daddario, and Carla Gugino.
So, how do you feel about the term estranged wife? Was she estranged?
I never knew what estranged was until like 2 weeks ago. That the term always confused me.
But I guess the point I'm making is
it.
Wasn't he kind of estranged?
He's the estranged husband.
He's the estranged husband.
Yeah.
She's not really the estranged wife. She kind of moved on with her life, which we'll get into, but
right.
I don't know. I don't really agree how they phrase that there.
So tell me, is estranged the one that is the stranger?
See, who is estranging?
He estranged it?
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, who is estranging?
Yeah, who's the estrangee?
Who's the estranger? I don't get it. Like, I don't know. We need to make a ruling, but I think he is the estranger.
Let's go with that. Ruled.
I like it.
There was no body count officially, so I had to make my own body count in this movie.
They were not on moviebodycounts.com. San Andreas was not.
No. See, now this is a PG-13 movie, so they were not as graphic as one might think a disaster movie would be. They had to go Titanic route. So
assumed death.
Yeah, so I took it upon myself to keep a count myself. I tried. It's very hard to do. I tried. I got to 10, all right? And it was about
2 minutes in?
No, it was about halfway, almost three quarters through the movie. I was at 10, counted. And then they hit the Golden Gate Bridge. And it was over.
It was you just gave up.
Yeah.
You gave up counting.
People in cars were going down. The boat hit the bridge, and people on the boat. Had to have been at least 50,000 people.
Where do you think this ranks in terms of body counts for disaster movies? Is it up there? Like,
well,
I don't know if we call Titanic a disaster movie.
No.
I mean, The Day After Tomorrow, like the world freezes over.
Yeah.
But at least in Northern Hemisphere, New York at least.
So we're talking Day After Tomorrow, global freeze, so many dead bodies. And we're not talking on screen, but if we're talking overall disasters. Independence Day, be blowing up. the major cities across the world, not just the United States.
The chick from Saved by the Bell, the college years,
Yes.
just trying to hang out with the aliens.
Right, exactly. Armageddon, I guess how many people died? Not maybe they stopped it. They stopped it.
Yeah, they stopped it.
Spoiler
They saved
alert.
the world.
Yeah. So 2012, I didn't see 2012. I
saw
imagine everybody died
That's
that movie.
the John Cusack
Yeah.
one about the Mayan apocalypse.
Yeah.
I never saw that one.
No, I'll say Volcano, Twister had just Twister, not that many.
Twister was just like a town.
Perfect Storm was just a boat. I know Wahlberg and Clooney were on it, but it's not just a boat when those two were on it. Was it Clooney, right?
Perfect Storm was, man, it was. Why don't I know this? I think it was him.
Yeah. What else?
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak /
grandma.
Volcano.
The grandma died.
grandma.
Like movies come out in pairs,
Yeah.
and this is definitely a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Movies come out in pairs. Deep Impact, Armageddon, 2012, whatever it was. What came out during this time? I don't think this one had a pair.
Oh, Tsunami. You didn't watch?
I never saw
I
that.
don't know. No.
No, it's just like, I guess Sharknado maybe.
Every once in a while. I mean, not every time, but it happens.
I'm going to let you in on a secret.
Yeah.
I love Dante's Peak.
Oh, yeah.
That is a great
Pierce
movie.
Brosnan. I saw that in the theater, man.
See, Pierce Brosnan's awesome. We watched this very specifically in high school Earth Science.
You took it as fact?
Yeah, we watched this in high school Earth Science, and I remember the teacher was trying to tell us you cannot, in fact, drive a Chevy pickup across molten lava.
But the tires are like the grade A, man.
It was hilarious, and the grandma, she walks through like basically acid rain bath. Like that movie is so hilariously awesome.
So you watched it for what what is not true. in
Exactly.
science.
I think it
Okay.
was just like the teacher didn't want to come up with lesson plans that week, so
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, we'll watch a movie. Let's point out the incorrect facts."
So I think this movie ranks relatively low on the body count scale from all these other disaster movies, but still a lot of lives were lost.
But we missed one.
What's that?
The Happening.
The Happening.
That's another
It
disaster
is
movie.
the disaster. The Happening
trees,
was the
man.
disaster. The trees got you. The
No,
trees
you're
got
right.
you.
It is kind of low because it's just Los Angeles. Well, it's not just Los Angeles. It's the whole West Coast, basically.
Yeah, from LA to San Fran. Yeah.
And at one point, Paul Giamatti says, "I don't want to underestimate this. Don't underestimate it. They're going to feel this on the East Coast." Like it got to be very epic and crazy.
yeah.
Like did our table rumble over here?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, whoa, what was that? Like it was us sitting here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I doubt it, Paul. But yeah, I guess you could say any zombie movie is a disaster movie, if you will.
Like a World War Z.
Yeah, but I think it's a whole entirely
Dawn
different
of the
genre.
Dead.
Let's not count those because that's like most of the
different-
population is Brady and zombies.
Yeah.
Let's get beyond that. So I say relatively short in comparison, but still a lot of lives were lost.
So before we get into the crux and the detail of this movie, I thought a little bit about the casting. We'll get into some of the details about the people in a second. But how does one audition for this movie that's not The Rock? Because I feel like this movie was written for Tom Cruise maybe 6 years ago, and it just happened to be The Rock. Because The Rock, like you said before, didn't use his muscles per se.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of flying going on here.
And he
Yeah.
was perfectly casted, don't get me wrong. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about like the daughter. Like, how do you audition for that? Like, does she scream? Because she did a lot of screaming in the movie, but she was actually one of the toughest characters.
Well, now that you bring that up, I can tell you how it wasn't Tom Cruise. It wouldn't have made sense because Alexandra Daddario she looks like she's 6 foot tall, right?
Right.
There's no way Tom Cruise
He
is
can't
having a
produce
6 foot
that.
child. Can't produce that. Not happening. But yeah, I guess the lung capacity is a lot, but there wasn't a lot of screaming going on.
Yeah, and when she did scream, she was underwater.
Yeah, and she was tough. I mean, the screamer per se was more his wife.
Yeah, his
or
wife.
His
She was kind of tough too, though.
Well, she was tough, but there was only a few moments where there was the damsel in distress kind of thing. Everybody pretty much held their own. That wasn't everybody who was in the Rock's family,
Right.
The Gaines family. Were pretty tough. Everyone else around them, they were the cowards.
Not to be confused with the Chronicles of Daniel Riddick.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait to talk about this guy, Mr. Fantastic himself.
So really, I mean, if you're talking about extras, you just have to look confused. You have to be able to act with dirt on your face.
Yeah.
That's like really it, right?
And walk around like holding your head like you have a headache.
Yeah, that's really it.
But how many of these extras were real and how many were CG? Because I'm going to just put this out there. I thought the computer graphics in this film was pretty spot on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure a lot were, but really anytime there's a close-up or anytime you had to emote, I'm sure like it's impossible to get a realistic-looking guy with dust on his face.
Because like you remember back in like NHL 95 when they had the people in the audience, it looked like basically cardboard folded people.
Oh, yeah.
And then, now we just played, what is it, NHL 2016 now?
Yeah.
You play that and it's like full scale
Oh,
people.
well, even in like the PlayStation days and even PS2 days, a lot of games had that cardboard look to it.
Exactly.
It's hard to fake a person, It's easier to just fake the glass or fake the
Right.
broken bridge or the rock, not the rock, but the rocks crumbling beneath
Right.
your feet. Yeah.
What'd you think of the effects overall, though? Like,
Oh,
of
it was
buildings crashing.
Yeah, it
and-
was great.
I mean, the effects in this were better than most superhero movies, honestly.
Yeah, I always marvel at the actor's ability to react to things that aren't really there.
Yeah, I'd love to see the filming of this because I was sitting there thinking, did they film this in Los Angeles? Was it filmed in San Francisco, or was it all green screen?
It's probably mostly green screen, or they were in some kind of studio and where like the ground was like false. There were lots of mats where they had to do a lot of stumbling, a lot of running and tripping, stunt work. And I'm sure it was very complicated in that aspect, but I'm sure a lot of this movie was probably filmed in a studio.
I mean, I've seen situations where they take a green screen outside on location,
Yeah,
and they, they'll stand in front of AT&T Park,
yeah,
and then they'll put a green screen in a certain spot, and they can like basically computer in the building falling apart. But
Yeah.
I thought they did a really good job with this.
So as good as the special effects were, there's one thing that bothered me about the special effects that they just can't seem to get right in all these movies, any movie.
What is it?
It's the photoshopping skills of the family picture.
See, I thought the same thing when I saw it. We pointed it out. I'm like, that's not the Rock's
Yeah.
head.
The shading is just way off. There's heads on bodies that just don't belong there. Why can't they get this right? Because they probably pawned this job off on an intern.
Yeah.
And they said, "Here, kid, make this happen for the movie."
'Cause
And they
it's
don't care. They don't care. They don't double check. It's just a prop.
It's up for like all of 3 seconds.
But if you give this special job to an intern and really like explain to him, listen, buddy, this is very important for the movie. It's not important at all, but you tell the kid that and say, listen, you do this good job. We're going to take care of you later on.
Right.
And then the kid will go all out.
It's the
right?
notch on his belt.
Yeah, right.
His or her belt.
Right.
Before we jump into the movie, like the details of the family and all that stuff,
Yeah.
let's talk about the opening rescue.
Oh, the
Because
opening
it
rescue.
sets the tone, I think, for the Rock as the main character and kind of what he's all about.
Right. But I have a problem with the intro, though.
What is it?
It's the tone of the movie was thrown off. The beginning of the tone of the movie was thrown off because of the scene. The scene reminded me of Final Destination. It was very goofy. It was very disaster movie-esque, but not in the way that they wanted it to be, I felt. They had the girl, she's texting while driving.
It was like a PSA.
Yeah, and there's a truck coming at her and she's swerving, but like it's fine. Nothing happens. And then she gets distracted by a radio station or something like that, and it's fine. Nothing happens. It's a very Final Destination.
There was multiple fake outs.
Yeah, and it was very goofy. And then finally, I guess the first tremor hit, and she goes off the edge, and you think she's dead. Surprisingly, she was still alive after all the hits she took.
She was driving a Subaru, man.
Yeah, it was-
Like,
yeah.
did Subaru pay for that?
Was it clear that it was a
It was.
Subaru?
It was a
Yeah.
Forester. Like they
Yeah.
shown in.
They sure did. Yeah.
Zoomed in on the Forester.
I guess I didn't pay much attention to it, but yeah, if it was that indestructible, yes, I believe that.
It's
they did
like,
pay for that.
she fell off Route 1
Yeah.
in California,
Yeah.
and she's still safe.
Right.
But she's like hanging there.
Yeah, so the girl's still alive. It's basically just a plot device to introduce The Rock and how heroic he is. He sends his buddies down to go save the day. They screw up, so he's got to go fix it. Boom, bam, boom. Goes and fixes it. And I love how he was holding on to her. Like, she's not strapped in at all.
Yeah.
He pulls her from the car, and she's just hugging him. And he has both arms on her. Then he takes one arm away and gives a thumbs up to his friend.
Yeah.
Like, come on, don't do the thumbs up. Don't get cocky now.
See, I liked
You
how
drop
he
her.
helicoptered in. They were like, he's like in the helo, right? He's in the helo, and they're
Yeah.
like, we can't fit in this crevice.
Yeah.
He's like, I forgot what he said. He's like, I'm gonna have to, and he said like a helicopter maneuver.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I'm
like,
not a pilot,
did
so I
some
don't
jargon.
know. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna have to take her sideways.
We got to tip her. or
We got to
something
tip
like
her.
that. We got to
And
tip
he
her.
like he basically turns the thing sideways,
Yeah.
like straight up maneuvers this thing in, and then freaking Red Arrow from Green Arrow, the show, like
Yeah.
is in it, and he's like the buddy. He gets his arm like pinned underneath the car,
That's who it is? Okay.
and he was barely in it. I thought he was like, I thought they were setting him up to be like a character.
Yeah, no, there's only one character.
I knew he was in it, but yeah, that leads me to kind of the next point, right? So we're getting to the family, and this movie's kind of tough to talk about because there's not a super crazy plot, right? Basically, like there's an earthquake, his daughter's somewhere else, he's here, he's got to go get her to save her. But the point that I'm trying to make is, and I think why I really like the movie so much was because it didn't try to do too much.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on some other movies where Maybe the plot's a little convoluted. I mentioned last week about Jurassic World, where it was kind of like, I didn't really understand the point of that plot. I didn't really understand the point of this. But generally speaking, this movie is about The Rock and his family, and they kind of focus on that. And I liked it.
Yeah, but maybe that's where I got thrown off a little bit. And I did like the movie, but maybe that's where I got thrown off on the tone aspect, because if you compare it to other disaster movies like Independence Day, the weight of Independence Day is like it's very heavy. Like it makes you feel like there's a big event going on. And other things, like even The Day After Tomorrow, which isn't exactly a great movie, but it feels like an epic event. And this, even though there was mass destruction and the city was being destroyed,
right?
It just didn't feel weighty to me because they focus so much on 3 people and that's it, right? Maybe that's why.
I took it the other way. I thought like it seemed more epic because it was the family and everything was kind of crumbling around them.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying,
Right.
and I could see how you would take it that way. But I kind of liked that it was about the family because it helped focus in on something that had just had so much shit going on.
I'm not saying it was a bad choice. All I'm saying is I feel like that's why the tone of the movie is different than other disaster movies. Well, yeah, everything else going on around them was big. It was kind of background noise to the main plot of The Rock's just trying to save his family.
Well, and a reason to that point, right? So to your point right there, usually what would happen in this type of movie, it's like, when's The Rock going to meet up with Paul Giamatti, the scientist who figured it all out? Right. But they use Paul Giamatti as somebody who just kind of basically told you what was going on from the science.
Yeah.
You know, not so much like, we got to get to him so he can fix the world.
Kind of a narrator kind of thing, yeah.
I'm thinking like The Core, right? Or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, it's not like The Rock, The Rock can't beat the earthquake up. He can't fix the earthquake.
Right.
So there's no reason for them to meet.
He's just got to get his family.
Aspect, that's great that they didn't try to do something stupid like that.
But the movie opens up, we find out The Rock is, you know, as we said in the description, his estranged wife, or he's the estranged husband. Basically, they broke up. Yeah. They're apart. And she married some billionaire guy who we think is a nice guy. It's Mr. Fantastic from the original Fantastic Four movies.
He's rich, super rich.
We don't know much about either of these people, right? It's kind of like ambiguous as to what happened.
Yeah, why are they divorced? We don't know about it. Like, did The Rock cheat on them? Is he a workaholic? Seems like a nice guy, right?
The tropey thing to do is to blame it on the girl.
Yeah, sure.
And I didn't get that from this in the beginning.
Well, my biases kind of went out a little bit because The Rock had I could call him The Rock. He doesn't like to be called The
Mr.
Rock
Johnson.
anymore. Dwayne. What's his name?
Dwayne.
Gaines in the movie.
Rich Gaines?
Roy Gaines?
Ira Gaines? Ira Gaines?
Ray Gaines. That's a bad name. Let's fix the name.
You know, that is a bad name.
Ray Gaines.
He could take some lessons from Steven Seagal here.
You know what? I'm just called The Rock.
The Rock.
All right. A great relationship with his daughter. I feel like he didn't cheat on her, because if he cheated on his wife, then the daughter probably wouldn't like him so much, you would think. Yeah. And then you have the wife who's about to remarry or move in.
She was moving in. She wasn't going to remarry.
Yeah, move in with the rich guy. Now, that always sticks in my craw a little bit. Oh, yeah, you leave me, and you're going to move in with this rich guy sitting by the pool, buying the expensive things.
And he's just driving his pickup truck.
House on the beach.
Being a fireman.
Right? Yeah. And he's got the everyday rescue job. It makes you think, all right, who's this girl? What happened here? Right?
Yeah, I guess it kind of was a tease in a weird way where they make you, they kind of went for the trope of, oh, she must have cheated on him, or she must have left him. Like, she left him for somebody better.
Yeah.
She left him for somebody better. And this guy's an architect, swanky architect, got a sweet house.
Yeah. 40 plus years old, never had a wife, doesn't have kids, doesn't have a bastard kid anywhere.
What does he say? He's like, I didn't have children. Yeah. I had these. Yeah. And it was like my buildings.
His buildings are his children.
That's so lame. Yeah.
So we find out later on, as you alluded to darkly, The Rock and Carla Gugino had another daughter that unfortunately drowned. The Rock was trying to save her in a rafting accident, and he couldn't do it. He lost her.
Now, I can't blame him for being like...
He beats himself up over it.
Destroyed over it, because he's a rescue firefighter. Right. His job is to save people that do that.
Yeah.
And he was crushed because he couldn't save his own daughter. He was there,
and he lost her. Couldn't help her, unfortunately. So he carries the weight of that throughout their marriage, and it ultimately leads to their wanting to get a divorce. Divorce papers are served.
And you know what's the funniest thing?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know a lot of people that have been served divorce papers.
It's really funny. It's so funny, Drew.
When you get divorce papers, does it say You open it and it says divorce papers attached.
Well,
like,
yeah, I think that's so you know not to throw it away. It's not junk mail.
it just seemed very explicit. Like it was such a plot device. Like open the envelope, divorce papers enclosed.
If there was a piece of junk mail wanted me to sign up for a new credit card, if they wrote on the paper on the envelope, divorce papers enclosed, I'm not even married, I'm going to open it up just in case, you know?
So it's like, you
It's a
better
red
open
flag.
this.
Yeah. Like, oh man, they got me. So yeah, we find out that The Rock beat himself up, kind of distanced himself from the family, and that's how they were divorced, or that's how they came to become separated. Fair or unfair?
I think, knowing what we know personally, I think that the wife actually was totally in the right, because it seemed like he really couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
And she had no choice but to move on.
Right.
Because he was maybe being distant to her. He didn't care about how she felt. And he even said it, like, it was his fault.
Yeah.
Blatantly his
He
fault.
said I wasn't there emotionally. And, they waited until the daughter's going off to college, so now's the time to get divorced. They stuck it out.
That's nice
Yeah,
parenting.
that's good parenting.
I mean,
right
they
there.
tried.
Yeah. And they're on good terms. Seemed like they're a good match for each other, right?
No, they did. And I think as you see the movie go through, you realize what a terrible match this other dude was for her.
But how do you think they met?
This guy?
The new guy.
See, that's what I want to know, because I feel like, was she at a party? Like, they never really said what she did
So
for
let's
a
make
job.
this up. How did they meet? Do you think she was at one of his openings for one of his buildings?
Like, he was opening a building, the safest and the tallest building, and she was just happened to be there.
Right.
Like, what was her job?
Was she part of the permits department and she went to check it out?
See,
What do you think?
That's what I
On
think.
the job? Because I don't think she was out there at the bar.
No,
right?
no.
No.
No, I think she was probably working at the county permit office.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Or his last building that he just completed. It's like a grand opening. Maybe it's a museum. Who knows what it is? And she's there.
She
and
works
she's
there.
got an evening gown on. It's Los Angeles.
That's what I mean.
There's events going on. She's
Listen, she could wear jeans and a t-shirt and she would be one of the hottest people.
So
in
she's
the
got
movie.
an evening gown. It's got that little slit there.
Showing the leg.
Yeah, shows the leg a little bit, a little cleave. There's a lot of
A little
cleave going
cleave.
on in this movie, by
There's
the way.
a lot of cleave. And it's not
Right.
even implied cleave, it's blatant
No,
cleave.
and a lot of leading in. Right?
Isn't that actually an earthquake term, cleavage? It's
Yeah.
like a rock thing, isn't it? Like literal what I don't know what the study of rocks is. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, right.
I forgot what the word geology.
Yeah, go for
Geology?
it. Sure.
The study of rocks.
Yeah. Geography.
Geography.
Sure. Yeah.
The study of geography. There's lots of cleavage in that. But no, seriously though.
Yeah.
Like she's laying it all out there.
It's geology.
And everybody's seen True Detective.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about the daughter.
Yeah.
But they also couldn't have Tom Cruise in this too, because he'd probably be a creep with the daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas The Rock is all business.
Sure.
He's a loving father.
I think, let's be serious now. I think it's The Rock's best, emotional work.
Oh,
in
he
this
was
movie.
great.
As far as an actor goes, and as far as looking depressed and actually emoting and caring, this was his best work.
Well, he
right?
was great, especially when he told the story about the daughter.
Yeah.
He did a hell of a job, man.
Yeah. And that's why, as for a disaster movie, for as little as he used his muscles, he actually did use his acting skills. And I think this is a coming out party for The Rock. He might not get the credit for it because it's just going to be written off as San Andreas.
I agree.
But I think this really shows his range.
Yeah, and I kind of said this last week, and we talked a little bit about it, but when I went to watch the movie last week, Jurassic World, I expected that to be better, right? And I was totally surprised by this. I went in thinking, it's going to be a disaster movie. I guess I got to watch it because, we had talked about it.
Yeah.
I really, really liked this movie a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than I thought I would.
So let's talk about Daniel Riddick here.
The Chronicles
of. So he seems like a nice guy. Takes the daughter to San Francisco where
she's going to school.
She's going to school there. He's taking her to school or whatever. So tells her on the plane how he doesn't want to replace her father. Knows he has a good relationship. He just wants to be there for her.
That was a very heartfelt
Right.
speech.
Yeah. Takes her to a building where I guess he has to have work done. And she's just sitting there and she's waiting. So long story short, she actually meets one of the other characters that she spends a lot of time with. We'll talk about them later. The British brothers.
The brothers British.
But long story short, the shit hits the fan. Disaster strikes. She gets in trouble with her stepfather. So call him the stepfather, even though not
With the
really.
stepfather.
Yeah. She gets her leg trapped, and he books it. He, like a wimp, like a wuss, like a coward, he books it and leaves her stranded.
Let me
Did
say
you see this
something
coming?
here. Let me say something
Yeah.
here. They really set it up because they set you up to think, you know what, maybe this guy's not so bad. Because the family, it wasn't like the terrible divorce style,
Yeah.
right? It was The Rock. When you set up the movie, he looks like oh man, I just don't have what this guy has.
Yeah, he took
He's
the high
rich.
every interaction together up until this point. He took the high road. Very, very professional. Very nice.
And The Rock was supposed to actually drive his daughter to school.
Yeah, he got his heart broken. He got his heart broken right in front of the guy. He kept it cool for everyone.
Such a good dude.
Didn't yell.
The guy says, "Oh, I got to go up there for business. I'll take you in my private plane," and he flies her. But you're right. Like at first, I'm thinking, man, I want to hate this guy because he's the rich guy, right?
Yeah,
He's the
right.
rich jerk.
Sure. Yeah.
But he didn't really come across that way. Like you said, he gave the heartfelt speech about how he doesn't want to replace her. Shit hits the fan. He's in a limo.
Yeah.
Get out of here. We gotta get out of the parking garage.
Yeah.
He legitimately goes for help. Still, they're kind of like, all right, maybe the guy's not so bad. I thought for a second, like, all right, he's definitely leaving her.
Yeah.
But he talks to the security guard, says, I need help. There's a girl stuck. Rock falls on top of...
Not The Rock.
Not The Rock.
Yeah.
He didn't get rock bottom. He probably should have.
A boulder.
A gigantic boulder, a piece of the building, falls on top of the security guard, and the Chronicles of Daniel Riddick loses his left shoe or something.
Yeah. And that's it.
The guy, like, freaks out.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I don't want to get into the ethics here.
Yeah.
This dude has Carla Gugino moving in with him.
Yeah.
She's just moving in.
Yeah, right.
It's not really his daughter.
Not his daughter. They
Not
probably
really his daughter.
Probably known each other less than 6 months.
That's what I'm saying.
Less than.
I'm not saying that I would have left her,
Yeah.
but a person that I think of this stature, you don't get where you are. You don't become
Right.
the CEO of $1 billion company by being empathetic towards other
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
It's not out of character
I
for him
I
to
see
leave
exactly
her.
what you're saying. Yeah. So he's been looking out for number one his whole life, never been married, doesn't have kids.
He has buildings.
All he knows that's ingrained in his brain is success, drive forward, save yourself,
Survival.
look out for me, look out for number one, and that's that. So it's not out of character for this type of person.
Exactly. I'm not saying what he did was right.
Yeah. Who wasn't a dick for all intents and purposes, right?
But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
he saw a guy literally get like smushed,
Right.
for lack of a better word, smushed, like completely smashed in front of him by a
Yeah.
gigantic boulder. He
yeah.
kind of went catatonic,
Right.
right? And you kind of said this to me the other day after we watched it, like you didn't like the way they portrayed him, right?
No. So after all that, right? After between cuts of The Rock and his wife trying to get to his daughter, save his daughter, they show this guy and they make him the villain of the movie where he's like throwing people out of the way, look out, pushing babies, pushing
the face
kids,
of the
pushing
earthquake.
mothers. Yeah, right? So you're like waiting for him to die. They're setting it up. They're setting up like the scene where he finally gets his comeuppance. And when he finally does, you're supposed to cheer it, right? And I felt awkward about that because I didn't see him as the villain. I just saw him as, look, the guy just went catatonic. You know, shit was hitting the fan and he freaked. He freaked out and he went every man for himself, which a lot of people would do the same thing.
See, when he left the girl, I gave him the excuse. He went crazy.
Yeah.
He saw somebody die in front of him and he went into survival mode. Like, I just got to say to myself, don't really know that girl anyway. Realistically, she's probably dead anyway.
Yeah.
Realistically, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it. I'd have gone back for her. I like to think I would have gone back for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I didn't really hate him until he pushed that guy out of the way for the cover.
Uh-huh.
That was totally like vindictive. Like leaving the girl in the parking garage is one thing, but then taking a guy's out of cover so you can take cover in his spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of murder.
That was murder.
But-
straight up.
But he wasn't the one spraying, debris at the guy. He was like, hey, man, you're in my spot. Let me
See-
move. That's classic, like, bully. That's like schoolyard.
You're
right
letting
there.
him off the hook.
Yeah.
That was a life or death situation,
yeah.
and he pulled the guy into a
Yeah,
death
you should
situation.
do that. I'm not saying I would do that.
That
Yeah.
was bad.
Right. But again, at the same time, I don't want him to die.
No, listen, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But up until that moment, I thought, all right, this guy's just going crazy. He's not with it, right? He saw somebody die in front of him, blah, 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 blah. But then he literally pulls somebody out of cover and the guy dies instantly. And he looked like almost satisfied, like, yeah, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's like the dude in Cabin Fever, right?
Yeah. I made it. Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou, man. No.
Cabin Fever is a great
Yeah.
movie.
So who's stuck in the truck or the limo downstairs about to get crushed by a boulder any minute? It's the lovely, beautiful, talented Alexandra Daddario. Her stepfather bolts, leaves her for dead, but who goes and gets her are these two British kids. One, a 22-year-old there for a job interview who he tried to chat up with her earlier before the shit hit the fan.
Awkwardly.
Yeah. And then we have Rickon Stark, his younger brother, who kind of facilitated the match, right?
Yeah.
He was the mouthpiece for the nervous 22-year-old kid.
So that's where the hell he's been all that time.
Yeah, right?
He's been in Los Angeles.
He's been in Los Angeles.
He's gotten bigger in Los Angeles.
Be a matchmaker. So
I thought that was a sweet move, though, by him.
So after chatting with Alexandra Daddario, she gave the digits up, right? About 5 minutes interaction. They find out that she's down there alone, and they go down there and go to save her. Would you do that? Would you go down there after talking to this girl for 5 minutes? I mean, the possibilities of the rewards are endless.
Listen,
but
I probably would, I like to think I would, right? Just because, you had a connection with somebody, regardless of romantic or not. You met them on a personal...
He was smitten.
Right, he was.
So there was that.
But I don't think he did it because of love. I don't think he did it.
So he did it for the right thing to do.
I think part of it was love.
Yeah.
Let's be serious.
Sure.
Part of it was love.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think he seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Jumped in there, thought, maybe I can help her. He heard somebody screaming for help.
Yeah.
Definitely a personal connection, because you might tune it out if it's somebody that you don't recognize. Because everybody's screaming, right? The whole place is coming down.
Yeah.
But I like to think I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah. So if they would have come to find out, hey, there's an old lady in the back of a limo, she's trapped, would they still go down there?
I think he might have tuned it out.
You know?
You know what I mean?
I question the morals. Now, I'll be honest with you. I would not have gone down there, and not knowing the person.
Even with her, though?
I would be wuss-like. Now, I wouldn't be stepdad and go pushing people into boulders and stuff. But at the same time, I would not handle myself well in a disaster. So I'm not sure if I would have gone down there and saved her, knowing that, this building's going down at any moment. I don't know if I'm a hero. The thing is, I'm not in this situation. I don't know if I'm a hero or not.
You need to be in a situation to find out if
Maybe
you
I
are
would
a
be.
hero.
Maybe I would be. I feel like it's something you can't say you would do unless you were
It's
in
true.
it.
I agree with you.
So these British kids, right, who become a partner with Alexandra Daddario, the daughter of The Rock and Carla Gugino in this movie, they're along for the ride for the rest of the movie. She's with them, and the Rock and the wife are looking for the daughter, right? So you would think since they saved her, it's going to be damsel in distress. They're going to be saving her this whole movie, protecting her.
That's the tropey thing to do.
Yeah. Is that what happened in this movie?
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
She was badass, man.
Oh.
So any daughter of The Rock is going to know, any daughter of Ira Gaines is going to know what to do. Because legitimately, she knew everything, right?
Yeah.
But I did think it was kind of funny because we find out, she knew where a radio was, right? So she knew there was an emergency channel on a radio.
Yep.
That's smart. The one thing she knew, I was saying it, I hate to be the guy that's yelling out loud, watching the movie, and they're like, oh, we need to find a landline phone.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, find a landline, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, where is it? Go to the credit card machine. It's probably right there.
It's really easy to find.
And I love how during the movie, Rick and Stark, there comes a decision point later, which we'll get to, where it's do we go with her? We're kind of almost near the saving point.
Yeah.
She's saying we need to go backwards. Rickon Stark is like, no, we got to trust her. She knew everything. She knew about an emergency radio. She knew about the landline phone. They were kind of flimsy reasons.
She used common sense. Now, let's get serious. She wasn't a genius. She used common sense, which she learned from her father, which is great that she could be able to retain the information, that she can handle her own, know what to do, and not panic in a bad situation. But I think it was the Coast Guard that was instructing people to go to this other place.
Right.
And they were like, no, let's ignore the Coast Guard. I think we should follow her. Now, I don't know if I would have done that,
Well, they were almost there, right? They were almost there. Good thing they left, I guess, because there was a tsunami.
Sure.
Maybe they'd got on the helicopter or the plane. I don't know.
In hindsight, it was the right move to not go to the Coast Guard.
But I also love in going back with her, this guy somehow gets hit by something, and he gets a piece of glass in his leg. And it reminded me so much of the Forgetting Sarah Marshall scene where I was like, oh my God, that's a huge piece of glass. It's in his thigh.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out and it's it was barely in.
It's a tiny shard.
But listen, I don't want that in my leg either.
It's a baby gash.
It looked so funny to me.
It's a baby gash, as Martin Lawrence would say.
Let's talk about the other piece of this picture. The Rock and his wife, his estranged wife, excuse me.
Estranged husband.
On the other side of town here, they're down in Los Angeles. She's up in San Francisco. She's with these British guys. She's helping save their lives. Meanwhile, we've got The Rock. He knows my daughter's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I got to get up there.
Yeah, we got to get there. I know she's a smart girl. She's going to know where I want to pick her up at. Let's go down there. Let's get her.
He just happens to be flying, I think, for maintenance in this helicopter, right?
Uh-huh.
And he gets a call from his wife, who's at a meeting with her new, boyfriend's... The Chronicles of Daniel Riddick, his sister.
Yeah. Her almost sister-in-law.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost sister-in-law. I guess, what do you call this, like, the sister of the guy you're moving in with? Is there a term for that?
Your sex buddy's sister?
Yeah, your sex buddy's sister, right? No. So she's having lunch at this building. That building starts to come down. She calls Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Says, this thing's coming down.
Yep.
She's like freaking out. And he's like, I'm already in the helicopter. I'll come get you.
Yeah.
Get to higher ground.
Go to the roof.
Now, listen, I don't live on the West Coast, so I don't know what it's like in an earthquake.
Yeah.
Did they tell you to get to higher ground? Because it seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
like the building would fall over.
Yeah, I'd be afraid the building would fall over. I would go down. And maybe I'd probably be wrong.
But see, maybe it's wrong because shit will fall on you.
Yeah.
Versus like the buildings are made to withstand the tremors, I guess.
I guess it would take a lot to topple the whole building. But I wonder, hopefully this is accurate because I bet a lot of people would follow that advice based on this movie. So if shit were hitting the fan and I decide to go up and it's wrong because I saw it in a movie, I'd feel really stupid. I'd feel really dumb, right?
But she's up there, right? She gets up to the roof. The whole thing's coming down. Everybody's dying. He's in this helicopter. He picks her up.
Yep.
Instant rescue. Let me ask you about the ethics of this.
Yes.
So you're a rescue firefighter. That helicopter's not yours.
Sure, it's your employer's.
And I know you've got to do what's best for your family because you're trying to save it. What are the ethics around him taking this helicopter and flying from Los Angeles to San Francisco to save one person? Do you think that's ethical?
It's gray. It's a gray area, I'll tell you that. I get it, but it's totally wrong because that copper could be used to save dozens or hundreds, right?
Right, and maybe he would have. Maybe he just kind of basically quit his job.
Yeah, but he didn't like Grand Theft Auto rip a guy out of there, punch him, and steal it, right?
You're right.
Maybe it's his copter, you know? Nobody else would be driving that except him anyway.
I liked the thread of this whole dynamic, right? So because I kept thinking, like, I hope he gets back with his wife. Because it didn't seem like a bad relationship. It just seemed, and then that's how we find out what we talked about before.
Yeah,
he couldn't save his other daughter.
Yeah, as they're flying to their daughter to go rescue her. That's when we find the backstory. They have a heart to heart. They kind of, in so many ways, almost make up. Right?
They started to kind of fall back in love.
They bond a little bit out of the disaster. What's important in life, right?
Exactly, and they wind up going on their own adventure, saying, "Oh, we're going to come save you, the daughter."
Of course, they fall into they have pitfalls, engine failure. You have to find a new plane. Yada yada yada.
I love that piece. Like he's in another plane. He just happens to be a parachute school plane.
Yeah,
and you knew they were going to use the parachutes.
Of course, yeah.
But the whole point of this is they didn't even need to go there.
Right.
Alexandra Daddario she's fine on her own.
Sure.
She almost died trying to be saved, where she could have saved herself.
That was my big takeaway from the movie is the entire second half of the movie was trying to save the daughter that didn't need saving because she was very tough on her own.
Yeah, she was totally fine on her own.
She was in more danger trying to get to an exact building that her dad was going to pick her up at. She would have been much safer had she just chilled and went to a safe place on her own that she knew was safe.
So we talked about the two major threads. But there's another kind of thread that is maybe the narrative glue that holds the movie together. Yeah. You've got Dr. Paul Giamatti.
Dr. Paul Giamatti.
Whose friend dies in the opening earthquake at the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pretty epic.
Right.
Great scene. His friend told him to go out there. We got to investigate the tremors. We got a new way to predict a big earthquake.
Yeah, his partner in crime. Very passionate about it. It's like they're very excited that this earthquake is happening. Not for the
It's like the people in Twister, right?
Right, yeah. It's exactly like the people in Twister.
They're earthquake chasers.
They want to be able to predict it. If it's big enough, if the plates didn't exist before, we're going to be able to predict this stuff. And it's going to be awesome. And everybody's going to buy our book, Tremors, on sale now, $14.99 hardcover.
I want to know where you can buy that because it looked like the biggest book ever. Like, how much can you write about an earthquake? It was bigger than, like, the dictionary. It was so big. It looked like a freaking, like, a book you'd buy in college.
So what do you think? So when I was watching this, I'll maybe correct me if I'm wrong, if you agree or disagree. The scientist aspect of the story I liked it, but I feel like Paul Giamatti was like overkill.
So you mean like you thought he was too good of an actor for that role?
Yeah, I felt like, they could have used more of that Paul Giamatti money to maybe like boost the special effects. No, special effects were already great, but they could have been even better, maybe even Oscar worthy.
What are the chances a movie like this would ever win an Oscar? Like, maybe for the effects.
If we're looking to the future, like say a movie like Warcraft wins the Oscar for best for best special effects
that happens,
in the 2017
oh my
Oscars, right? So
It could, maybe for sound design.
Maybe San Andreas could have won it, or if this was last year, I don't know what won for special effects last year. Was a Star Wars or something?
Something like that.
So it could have won had they not paid Paul Giamatti his awesome actor salary. Could they have picked like a worse actor, right?
Yeah, I mean,
who look it up? I don't know if we can look it up real quick. Like
right.
who is there anybody in mind that would be worse than Paul Giamatti, but still could have carried this basically this narrator's role, so to speak?
Give me the criteria. Like, what do you mean by worse? Like worse looking, worse acting,
No, equally looking, not a great looking guy.
like a lesser name?
Lesser name, doesn't even have to be as good of an actor, but has to look like a doctor or a scientist, has scientific qualities.
I'm Googling this as we speak. I'm going to Google actors like Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
I'm looking up all right, so I found a list on IMDb. Hold on a second. Let me bring this up here. I'm going to name some names. You tell me whether you think that it would be good or not.
All right, rapid fire, go.
Robert Redford.
No, too old.
Seth Green.
Seth Green?
I'm messing with you.
Next.
Gary Sinise, who I like.
Gary Sinise could do it. Not bad. Put him on the list.
What about...
He's cheaper than Paul Giamatti, I bet.
John McGinley, who's the doctor from Scrubs.
No, too goofy.
Chris Christopherson.
Who's that?
Whistler's daughter's father.
No, too old.
If anyone knows what I mean.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, too good.
Beau Bridges.
Beau Bridges, not good enough.
Clint Eastwood.
Too old.
Yeah, too old. Hold on, I'm going down this list. William H. Macy.
Too eccentric?
Yeah, he's too shameless. Too much of shameless. See, okay, I was going to name this, but this is too military. Kurtwood Smith, Red Foreman.
No.
He always plays like a general.
He's got to be a general, yeah.
What about Jack Nicholson?
Too old. Too goofy.
Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Too perfect.
Yeah, he can do it. And he would do it for almost free, right?
He doesn't have the acting chops.
I got one.
Name some.
Forrest Whitaker.
No. See, that's a terrible
He sucks.
fit. It's a terrible fit.
He might not be cheaper than Paul Giamatti, though. That could be a downfall.
See, I'm pretty sure he has a higher rate. He won an Oscar, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but everybody, so did Nick Cage, right? Everybody wins an Oscar.
What about Adam Savage from Mythbusters? See, he's like probably a better actor than Bill Nye.
Yeah, I don't know if he's an actor, though. He would probably fall flat in this movie.
I love how Paul Giamatti is on a list of actors that look like Paul Giamatti.
Well, I hope he looks like him.
What about Nick Nolte?
Too goofy, too insane.
John Goodman.
Too jolly.
So I'm going down this list.
You know what? Maybe Paul Giamatti is the guy. Maybe I'm dead wrong.
See, because I feel like Paul Giamatti, like he's the perfect.
Maybe he is perfect.
Like I don't know. I can't. I'm still scrolling and I can't
Willem
see.
Dafoe?
Yeah, he's too diabolical.
Too ugly?
He is, well, you said lesser looking, right?
Well, yeah, but you can't be too ugly, though. All right, you know what? He's right. He's the right one for it.
I got another one.
All right.
Cillian Murphy or Killian Murphy.
All right. Is he too young?
No, because just give him some gray hair.
He's a doctor in Batman Begins, so yeah, I guess he'd do it.
Dr. Crane.
Dr. Scarecrow, yeah, whatever.
No, you're right. I think he is good.
Maybe he's right. Maybe I was dead wrong on this. Yeah, after looking at the other options, after you're naming them there, you know what?
It's kind of the reverse of Wayne's World. Like, can we get somebody better?
Yeah,
it's like maybe we could get somebody worse.
Somebody worse, save some money, play maybe.
No, but I mean, Giamatti didn't play a huge role in the movie, but I did think he was pretty good. Like,
yeah, he was good, but I'm saying that's why like it wasn't a big role, wasn't necessary. But I was wrong. Forget I said anything.
I think part of the charm of Giamatti's character is that like I said before, he wasn't the ultimate, we got to get to him, right? There wasn't really an end goal. The end goal was like, we just got to survive.
Sure.
Like, it wasn't like, oh, we need to cure the world of global warming. We need to stop this meteor.
Yeah. They want
like,
to be
nothing
able,
you can do.
They want to be able to predict this stuff, so when San Andreas 2 comes out, he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I like it.
Which, by the way, is a real thing.
Are you kidding me?
San Andreas 2 is in the works already. Everybody signed on.
Is The Rock in it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone's in it.
You're not making this up.
I'm serious, yeah. It's about the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's like a horseshoe.
Are they on vacation?
I don't know the plots
no,
of it.
There is the Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire,
that.
Pacific Ocean from the the west coast of the United States all the way through to like Australia, Japan, and the Philippines and all that. Yeah, that's a thing. It's happening.
Do we have a plot for this?
No, that's just all I know is about the Pacific Ring of Fire.
So my guess is it's going to be the British guy and Alexander Daddario on their honeymoon.
Maybe.
And they're going to be out there.
I don't know how many years later.
And the Rock's going to have to fly a helicopter across the Pacific Ocean.
What's the colon? And San Andreas : Ring of Fire.
Yeah, Ring of Fire. San Andreas, Ring of Fire.
There you go.
See
Done.
that? But it can't be San Andreas if it's not the San Andreas fault. Like, what could it be? Like,
Well, and it kind of is, I guess, because they're still going off of the West Coast of the United States.
I mean, they made Tremors, right?
Yeah.
They made Tremors the movie, and they made like 7 of those. So
Tremors
we can't
2,
call it
Tremors 3.
Tremors.
Yeah.
It's not about worms under the ground. But it's like, I mean, there's a quote that we'll get to later, but like the actual San Andreas fault. Like, I mean, they name the name of these things, but I don't know how you can make a San Andreas
Make it
colon
a brand.
I like Ring of Fire.
Yeah. So we got way off track there. Sorry about that. That was my fault for diverging into the Paul Giamatti.
You should have trusted Paul
down that rabbit
Giamatti,
hole.
man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Paul, for doubting your importance to the movie. Here's another thing. Let's get the random factoids about the disaster before we head out. I love the aspect of running away, trying to outrun the earthquake. This happens a lot in all disaster movies where you try to outrun the volcano, the earthquake, the tsunami, outswim the tsunami. And it's like, disasters don't work that way. The earthquake doesn't come like in a straight line. You know what I mean? Like it could pop up in different areas.
Yeah.
And there are multiple times where people were just flat out outrunning the disaster.
And to more random points, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, where are you running? Like, there's nowhere you can go. But it's human nature, I guess.
Right.
You don't know what else to do, so you run.
Yeah, but it's always like they're always just beating it, you know? But that doesn't work that way.
My other favorite thing was like driving a boat over a tsunami.
That was
like,
the best scene of the movie.
We got to get to it before it crests. Like, this was classic disaster movie stuff.
Yeah. And not only was that hard enough to get over that crest,
It was awesome.
all of a sudden the huge ship is in the way that they couldn't see before, so he had to make a turn and almost got his head chopped off by
I
the
like that
propeller.
he turns it like he cuts the wheel like it's a car on the highway.
That was the best boat of all boats in the history of boats.
Dude,
was it
he
not?
was driving straight up through all kinds of like debris and metal shards and building shards. And it was awesome.
It was like the fastest safety boat that's ever been made.
So one other kind of random thing too is the idea of looting in a disaster.
Yeah.
Now these people, I mean, this is the earthquake to end all earthquakes, right? They're feeling this shit on the East Coast.
Right.
This is not a joke.
Yes.
And there's people taking out flat screen TVs like just by the truckload.
What are you going to do with the TV?
The TV's probably broken, bro.
The roads are broken. You know, you can't even drive away with the TVs.
I just never understood looting in a disaster. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, oh my God.
It's your opportunity to get free shit, man.
But it's like, what are you going to do with it? The San Andreas Fault is open. There's a chasm in front of you. You can't even drive down the highway. There's a hole.
I know. It doesn't make any sense, but people lose their shit. It's like they try to make the best of it.
And like the Rock commandeered this nice Ford F-150.
Well, he stole that truck. That's Grand Theft Auto.
But somebody else already stole it. So he
stole it from someone who stole it, and then someone else tried to steal it from him.
But I like the part how like he made it okay in his head. He's like, I don't know, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And then he gets in the car and he sees that the wires are already ripped open.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, they already stole it.
So let's do it. Well, let me ask you real quick. Can you hotwire a car this day and age? I don't think you can.
Can I? I don't.
Not you, but anyone. Like the modern cars, a car made after 2010, say.
Are they hotwire proof?
I feel like you can't just twist a wire and hotwire a car anymore.
Don't they have what is that thing called? The Jimmy stick?
Yeah, I feel like you can't do that unless it's like a car made in 1990.
Yeah, that was a sweet truck too.
Yeah. I feel like you can't just rub two wires together and do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Hit me up, car guys.
Yeah,
let me know.
I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah. So to wrap it up and to wrap the movie up, Rock and Carla Gugino, his wife, finally meet up with the daughter and the two Brits. They meet up in a building. There's manufactured drama where Alexandra Daddario drowns. He pulls her out after using some rock muscle, does CPR for like 5 minutes.
She would have been had major brain damage, man.
Yeah, and after Carla Gugino gets her Oscar nod death scene where she gets to mourn her daughter for 5 seconds before she miraculously comes to life.
Great acting.
Yeah, the movie basically ends after a couple of embraces. You know,
the thing I want to say about that though is like she didn't really need saving, and we
No.
said this multiple times throughout this episode. They kind of, I guess this is The Rock's movie. It's not Alexandra Daddario's movie.
Yeah.
So like they had to have him, beat the earthquake.
Yeah, save the day. Yeah,
Because he couldn't save his other daughter.
So she had to almost drown. But really, it seemed kind of tacked on to manufacturer, did it not? It seemed like it was unnecessary to have her give CPR and all that. It just seemed way tacked on, right? So after that very dramatic scene, they're sitting there, they're looking out at the disaster. What do we do next? We got to rebuild. How do you rebuild?
Man,
How do you
It's
rebuild?
very stressful thinking about that. Like it's like any natural disaster,
Yeah.
right? Like if you think about Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, like
New Orleans
they rebuild the
New
city.
Orleans is still in trouble. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like this is like major.
Yeah.
It's like up and down the East Coast. And I think I looked this up before because I forgot about the day after tomorrow. I was like, oh yeah, like the whole place froze. It's like, no, they just all moved south. Like that's what they did. It's like, oh, we just moved to Mexico.
So now Georgia's a little more tight.
Right,
That's
right.
all it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
But no, so I don't know how you do it. Maybe we'll find out in the sequel. We'll see. We'll see if they're living in Mexico. But even Mexico is part of San Andreas Fault. So
it's true.
actually, most of it,
Ring of Fire.
most of Mexico is through the San Andreas Fault. If I have my geography right,
Not your geology.
my geology.
You have your geology right.
So, do you think The Rock and his wife get back together? Do you think it stays? Do you think it's strong now
Yes.
that he got to like avenge his daughter's death by
Yes.
saving his other daughter?
And I'll tell you why. Because most of these types of divorces, right, in movies, it's like, oh, she cheated on him or he did this. The only thing that went wrong in this marriage was the fact that
He beat himself up for his daughter's death. Yeah,
he couldn't get over
Yeah.
it.
It was a mental thing he couldn't get past.
He couldn't get over it, but
Yeah.
now he got over it, and she didn't seem to really stop loving him. She only moved on because she was like, well, he doesn't.
He wouldn't let her in.
Yeah, he couldn't
emotionally.
let her in. So
Yeah.
it's like, I think, yes, they do stay together.
Okay, so it's for keeps this time.
But the real question is, do you think that Ben and Alexandra Daddario stay together?
Absolutely not.
That was total disaster relationship.
That's a pure summer fling. you know?
Circumstance.
Yeah, summer dreams ripped at the seams. Butt hut those summer nights. Grease style. I think, guys, geek. All right, he's a wimp.
He was an engineer. He's trying to save her though.
He did. But what is that? What does that get you? 3 months out of a relationship? Come on, what does that really get you?
He saved her. It's like her future potential stepfather left her to die.
Yeah.
And this guy risked it all.
Yep. And then she saved him, so it was payback on the same day.
So they're even.
Yeah, they're even.
Call it even.
Right? They call it even.
No,
So-
I think he loved her. I think she loved him too.
I don't know. I think it's in the moment. People get bored.
He's a smart guy. He's got a British accent.
The guy had no personality. His brother facilitated.
That's
this
actually
whole
very
thing.
true.
Unless his brother is going to be his mouthpiece his entire life.
It's like, when he's got the earpiece in, he's
Yeah.
going to go on the dates and he's going to
Yeah.
keep the earpiece in, and his little brother's going to tell him what to do and say on the date.
Yeah, it's going to turn to a rom-com.
Yeah.
So no chance, no shot. I give it 3 months max. She's still going to college unless the college is destroyed. I don't know.
Yeah. They never said exactly
They
where
didn't
she
say
was
where she
going,
was
did they?
going.
It's in San Francisco. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore. The college is done.
Caltech, Berkeley.
She's going to do online college now.
Yeah. What do you think she is? Is she pre-med? She looks like she's
She looked like a doctor.
I think she's pre-med.
I think she was either a doctor or a psychologist.
Yeah.
Some type of medical field.
Yeah. Yes. She seems that way. Got to help people, especially follow her dad's footsteps.
Overall, I really like this movie. Looking forward to the sequel. I don't know about you.
Even though it won't even really make sense. Fine. Everything's sequels these days, so let's go for it.
I mean, if it's got The Rock in it,
Yeah.
I'm in. If it takes him away from Predator or The Predator,
Yeah.
I'm out.
If you look at his IMDb page, it's like he's got a full schedule, man. It's like booked. He
I'm
is
telling
booked.
you, he sleeps 2 hours a
Yeah.
night, if that.
Yeah. He's got like Journey to the Center of Earth 17 to do. He's got Fast and Furious 12 he signed on for.
I'm saying, he could make some cuts.
Yeah.
Come on. Fast and Furious, yeah, that's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Fast 8, whatever we're Furious 8, is that what we're calling it now?
That is a Fast or Furious. I don't know.
Furious 8, Fast and Furious.
I would go
whatever
Furious. Furious sounds like a better
because it was
title.
Furious 7.
I think they should keep it Furious.
They're building everybody. Kurt Russell's in the next one. I'm excited as hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully he takes some time and joins The Predator, and then I'll be really happy.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone on long enough. It's been a love fest, as always, on the Last Row Podcast. If you're looking for us on the web, it's thelastrowpodcast.com. Hit us up on Twitter, @thelastrowpod, facebook.com/thelastrowpod, Google Play Music, and lastly, head on out to iTunes, give us a 5-star review if you're enjoying the show. We'll read your review on the air and send you a personal thank you. Thanks to everybody that's done so already. Much appreciated, and we'll see you guys next week.
Alexandra Daddario.
Daddario.
So Alexandra Daddario and Carla Gugino, hottest mother-daughter
Hottest
on-screen duo in the history. Is that like an MTV award?
It should be an MTV. It should be a Last Row Podcast award.
So I'm thinking like Jamie Lee Curtis and